Welcome back to Bridge Street, live at the Great New York State Fair, right outside of the Expo Center. You know, it's always fun to, of course, celebrate the fair today, but how cool is it to take a look back at the fair of yesteryear? I mean, we're talking way back to the beginning of how it all came to be.
We're going back 100 years in time. Morgan Du Bois has an inside look at some of the history, tracing it back to all the way to 1927. Great to have you here, Morgan.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us your story.
Well, I'm able to trace my ancestors back to the late 1700s, early 1800s, when they relocated to the Onondaga County through the Onondaga Purchase of 1817. They built a home in Sentinel Heights, which is just north of Lafayette, in Onondaga County. So we've been here for over 200 years in the Cortland County and Onondaga County area. And we've been able to actually go look at the house, which is still standing.
Oh, is that right?
It's kind of dilapidated, but it's still there, and we've been able to go check it out and tour the grounds there where they used to live.
So you, of course, have heard the stories, and you've seen the photographs, and then you thought, I got to keep this alive, right?
Yes,
so important.
Absolutely. Actually, the discovery for me was kind of non-traditional. My father passed away when I was 7 years old. It was obviously difficult in the family. My grandfather as well passed away in 2010, and after he passed away, we were cleaning out his basement, and I came across these old scrapbooks in a bookshelf, and I opened them up, and I started looking at them, and I realized there was newspaper clippings from the 1920s to the 1940s, and I came across this photo of my great-great-grandfather, Curtis Du Bois, and it jumped out at me because my middle name is Curtis. It was also my father and my grandfather's middle name, so my whole life I knew the name was passed on, but had no idea that it derived from an actual person. So it was really interesting to see his picture and read these articles about their life and, you know, his grit and determination as a man.
Tell us about the family business, if you could. And
so Curtis Du Bois, he was chosen to do a demonstration at the State Fair in the 1920s, 1927, and he demonstrated the art of being a cooper, which was someone who shaved ash or pine logs into 26-inch staves, and they used iron to create butter firkins. Back then, this was called. We know them as barrels now. But the art of being a cooper was someone who shipped the butter to New York City back when they made, you know, milk at home.
Wow. And watching the growth of the fair, what are some of your impressions about all the different transitions that we've seen over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You think about back then, he was bringing this stuff up probably with, you know, a horse and buggy, and just the times have certainly changed, and I always imagine what they would think about, you know, life as we know it now. I think our generation is obviously tenacious, you know, what we've gone through in life, but I look back at them and say, man, they went through a lot of stuff as well. Like, life was a lot different back then for them.
What is this area, and what does this event mean to your family? You know, the fact that you've settled here. You know, again, your family's been here for 200+ years, as you said. What does Central New York mean to your family?
I love it here. I mean, I know there's been opportunities to leave Central New York, but this is where I call home. It's just a beautiful area, even though the winters can be challenging with the snow. But
it's a good way to put it, challenging.
You know, the Four Seasons up here, and the lake, and all of the area that has to offer is just a beautiful place to live, in my mind. And having connection to the family makes it even more special for me.
And you know, there's so much history to the fair, and you know, you found those nuggets, you know, right there. When you look at it, what struck out to you the most? Like, what just mesmerized you when you were looking at all those photographs and the history?
Well, truly, it was the fact that my ancestors preserved this stuff for over 100 years, 150 years. Like, they really took the time to make sure it was preserved to be passed down. Even though it was passed down in a non-traditional sense for me, I had to kind of self-discover and start doing research on my own, because the generations were gone to ask questions. But it was just amazing to see that they took the time to, you know, carefully take care of their newspaper clippings and documents and pictures to tell their story. You know, even though they're not here anymore, it's kind of up to me now to tell the story.
You're from Homer. I would assume you've been coming to the fair since you were a kid. How have you seen the fair kind of evolve just in your lifetime?
Well, it's definitely a lot bigger, you know, wider. And I think back to when my great-great-grandfather was here demonstrating. He came up here in a shirt and tie. All right, he was wearing overalls, and he worked from the beginning of the fair to the end of the fair every single day, you know, shaving wood and making these barrels. He would take a break for lunch, and that was it. And there was no air conditioning back then, you know, so we'd sit inside and we'd come out, and the air conditioning, times have definitely changed.
Is there one fair fact you think that you discovered that people would be surprised to know?
Well, among the photos that I have were from 1927, and Governor Al Smith was here on Governor's Day, and I have newspaper clippings saying how he was holding a crying baby and sitting in front of a Pioneer home, and I have that picture that goes along with the newspaper article, and he would go on to lose the presidential election in 1928 to Herbert Hoover, so just a cool photo to
That is.
And Morgan, real quick, just to bring this full circle, we're talking family. It's your child's one.
Yes,
your first birthday, right?
My son's over there. He turns 1 today, and his middle name happens to be Curtis as well.
Isn't
So
that
it's
something?
It's full
Sure,
circle.
The legacy continues.
Yes,
Morgan, thanks so
absolutely.
much for coming on. We do appreciate it. We got to hit a break.